David and Sly back to break down the Cougars, and man, there are so many things right now that just make you scratch your head with BYU. We'll get to that run defense, which I think is the biggest concern, but that offense is just not putting up enough points.
No, they're not, and Jaren Hall getting knocked out early in the fourth quarter was a big reason why.
Yeah, this BYU offensive line struggled the entire afternoon. They gave up 13 tackles for loss, 6 sacks. And a lot is because miscommunication right here. You see the center calls a lucky call, which means they're going to shift to the left, try to pick up the blitzers. They leave some guys open, coming up the middle, and when that occurs, you knock your quarterback out. Right here, you have a free runner that comes right up the alley, and this is a free shot on your quarterback, and unfortunately, he takes out Hall, gets a concussion. Now he's in concussion protocol. We'll see what happens with him this week with Boise State if he can come back. But this was the theme of the game for this BYU offense. Offensive line, they weren't on the same level, and they weren't on the same page the entire game. It was very, very ugly sight to see.
Right. And even when you do get close down in the red zone, you couldn't close.
Yeah, the problem was BYU had 3 opportunities within the 22-yard line, 22 and in, and came up with 0 points. And this is one of those type of drives where BYU 3rd and 5 situation, and they're going to run a fly sweep. And BYU just doesn't have the speed to keep up with USF. USF, that's the one strength they have was speed. And sure enough, right here, Gunnar around me on the outside, on a fly sweep, you've got to have receivers that can block and block well. BYU didn't. They came up, USF made a big stop. BYU eventually got no points out of that drive.
And even at the end of the game, you want to throw a Hail Mary to get it. Who should you go to in that situation?
Listen, even with all the woes that BYU had during this game and the struggles they had, they still had an opportunity to win the game at the very end. Here's the last play of the game. They're going to go 3 by 1, so 3 receivers up top, 1 below. But look right here, Bushman. If you're going to go up top, make sure Bushman is up there. He's your tallest receiver. He's your big tight end. Give Marona Lulu Pututau out there. Instead, look at the 2 receivers going up for the Hail Mary catch. You got Leva Hifo and Dax Milne, the 2 shortest receivers on this BYU team. They don't stand a chance back there, and unfortunately the ball falls short. Listen, I guess at least it was a progress from last week where the ball went out of bounds.
Right.
So at least they had a shot this week, but it was just ugly. And listen, Baylor Romney came in and actually had a pretty decent game, 6 of 10 throwing, and there's a good shot he's going to be the guy this week. So we'll see how he progresses this week in practice. Now he gets those starters reps.
Yeah. But again, this BYU defense, the run game is just, why can't they stop anybody on the run?
They gave up 243 yards in this game. The 3rd time they've given up over 200 yards this season rushing. And if you watch it, it's very simple to see. BYU's middle linebacker, Algier, he sees a puller. What do, Sly, when there's a puller?
The puller tells you everything. Go with the puller.
Go to the puller. Meet him downhill. Instead, he's still 5 yards deep. Look where he's catching the block.
Yeah.
He's 5 yards from the line of scrimmage. You're going to lose every single time. On top of that, BYU's linebackers taking wrong angles. You're going to have a safety taking a wrong angle. And in doing so, comes up with a huge 40-yard run here. It's just ugly run defense. And it was basically because of middle backers, defensive line getting washed out of their gaps. When they go back and watch this film, they're going to be embarrassed. Because what happened on this particular drive, South Florida lined up. They ran 10 consecutive run plays all the way down the field. Didn't even attempt 1 pass, and they got a touchdown. So basically lined up and said, listen, mano-a-mano, man-to-man, we're going to cram it down your throat, and they did. And BYU could not stop them. It was embarrassing, and this is something this BYU team, like I said, they've been susceptible to the run all season long. They've got to figure it out. Otherwise, Utah State, Boise State this week, they're going to come right after you and try to run the ball at you. And if you don't have it figured out, it's going to continue to be an ugly season.
So BYU's on their 3rd string quarterback. You've got 2 teams that run the ball well in Boise State and Utah State coming up. The run defense is awful. As a former player, David, is there anything they can do in the next 2 or 3 weeks to get this thing back on track? Yeah,
there always is. When it comes to run defense, you can switch up the schemes, right? You can go from the standard 3-4 defense that BYU's running out to a 4-3. Heck, even go to a 5-2. I don't care what it is. You've got to figure out the guys that are willing to come up and meet guys on the line of scrimmage. A lot of it comes down to, yes, BYU's playing younger linebackers right now that are struggling to get their reads, as we saw right there with the puller. You've got to be able to recognize that puller and meet him in the gap. But they're struggling, and so they're playing hesitantly, and they're 1 step too slow. And that 1 step in college football, it's everything. And it opens up gaps for guys to run 40 yards down the field. So they've got to trust their reads and their eyes, and these guys got to continue to get experience. But if you're Elisa Tuiaka, the D coordinator, you've got to put your guys in successful type scenarios to let them go out there and win the down. And right now, this is not happening.
We'll see what adjustments BYU can make against the 13th ranked team in the country in here on Saturday. Bowl eligibility suddenly on the line. Sam?